continuing on, the forces and the powers that be says, ooh, we're going to mess with you. So this is what you do, is you take Pakistan is going to press sanctions against Syria on that bar fight, okay? Now, what happens is this clears up a lot of underlying issues in the Syrian dispute, and Russia can pull out because U.S. involvement is going to move their forces into place in Syria, and you never get in the middle of that stuff, you don't. You're going to move your stuff in there, and Pakistan's going to sign off on it. And I'm going to say it's fine. And now, this is what you do. You stay on the outer perimeter, and Russia can pull out of Syria. And now he's not in trouble because he's defending. He's defending my people here and our people that we're trying to salvage in Ukraine. And so now he can go home because he's not going to leave Ukraine in activity and the rights of the War Department to reach out and handle the issue, because the issue isn't in one place. It never is. It's in a multitude of places. Now, the best thing to do is to clear up the small shit. And you put any woman, get Hillary in there. Get Laura Bush in there. And Michelle. Because it's your petty stuff. I don't want to pay it, it's too small. Then it causes of actions, because you got to understand, they're utilizing this stuff, of course, as evidentiary material. Intent, no good faith in communications, no good faith in treaties. You don't want to get busted with no good faith in treaties. I'm not saying anything. So you clear up those small charges, and Russia can pull out of Syria because they're there to defend and keep them safe. And then U.S. can go in and plant yourself. Because you haven't been allowed to go in with your efforts. And I can guarantee you, we know your efforts are in good faith and in good standing. And I know that your military isn't going to fire upon anybody except for the bad regimes. Because we expect you to. And then Russia can pull out, and everything's already signed in Ukraine, and they're okay, and they pull back and go back to Russia. And the stuff that's going on in Russia isn't as bad as you think it is. He's making it so that I could overthrow if something happens, because he's not having good faith in the U.S. policy. And that's what they're doing over there. It's an overthrow. It's a Romanov coming home, because it's a threat, because you're not fulfilling. And everybody's wondering why I'm stuck over here in a homeless shelter. It's because I'm close to the border. I have 12 people from Ramirez's regime within a tenth of a mile of me, who have all made contact. I've paid one of them. It's done. If it's not settled here and done in a correct manner, I have to go back to Mexico, and then I get transferred over, and then you have to deal with a Romanov on the throne. And it's gonna happen anyway. It's just I'm on the throne wherever I am. And he knows that I need to have a safe haven and respect, and that's what I'm not getting, is respect. And that's a big deal, right? It is. Because you want to market, and I'm talking about the low-level regimes, want to market that I'm unworthy because I'm not smart enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not skinny enough, I'm not funny enough, I'm not healthy enough, I'm not whatever. And I don't know what to tell you, but a queen can flip you off anywhere. And I know that England's bent. And we have a governing policy structure in England that is considered a queendomship and not a kingdomship, because Charles is, I'm going to put it out there, Charles has been too lazy to get up and restructure his kingdomship, and he's not in charge if he's not forthcoming with his own agenda. And he has to structure the system in a kingdomship. That means military commands change. That means policy changes. That means passcodes change. I know this because he's my cousin, and I understand kingdomship because it's been embedded in me. It's like migration of birds. I've been from kingdomship all of my families, or always I have been. And it's, how do we handle this? Well, I know that the best way to handle it is do this, because the people will respond in a general sense and not in a retaliatorian sense. We utilize the cellular blocks in metabolism burn in prayer, and that releases knowledge from my ancestors. And anybody who is a holy enough person can do something like this. It's just a message from your grandmother. And the knowledge comes in and is stored in the brain, the heart, the tissue, for decision making later. This is the way it's done. Okay. And Muhammad said it best. He says it's like a download. And it was like that for me. At first, I was having epileptic seizures. I had a paralysis issue. The body was just saying this is too much. The paralysis issue has to do with the transfer of information to the nervous system. And I just can't move. And it was so easy because God carried me through. And I just say, well, I can't move because there's no energy or power in my legs. I could feel my legs, and I was physically okay, but the spirit man wasn't, or something was going on, and there was just no energy in my legs to move. I said, well, it'll clear up. It will, and it did. And that was been a long time. But Muhammad said it best. It's just a download of information, and it was. And it took 12 years. Walking with God, we all do it. And it's like, oh. And it wasn't just God telling me what to do. It's never that way. You don't learn that way. It's God tells me every single day, you shouldn't do that because something's going on. And I just have a sense of knowing that my will and his will is the same because I required it. It's like, okay, I don't walk to the right, I don't take this turn, I have to go this way to the left and avoid something, I don't know what it is, I don't care. I just have to go this way. And then I'll run into somebody who needs me or something. But what happens is problematic issues come up in vision. And I get surround vision. I can get surround vision. And I'll have to work it in my brain. I sit there and do that with no TV, no radio, nothing. I'm sitting working with my brain. Okay, problematic issue. It's like a gamer thing. Problematic issue. And then it's addicting. I have to sit and think, okay, that makes sense. And it does the same with my artistic venue. I'll have literature developing here. And I'll write down part of a story, close the book and leave it, because I can go back later and finish. Or poetry, that's easy. Theoreticals, quantum physics. God says go out and look at the universe. Fight what? Nothing. Can't talk about it. God says no. Go look at the universe. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I have to understand it, and he'll test me. He says, "What's that?" I'll say, "I can't talk about it. It's embarrassing." It is. Anyway, um, these things are important because later on down the road, I'll say, "What was that one thing, that one lesson that God showed me that I had to go out and do? Couldn't talk about." That relates to something here because the quantum universe is the same on earth as in heaven. That's problematic issue. It has something to do with mathematical composition. It's something that not many people understand about the equations of the multitudes, matrix equations, and systematic overflow of information. What happens to a extraneous release of mathematics into quantum? What happens? It gets picked up, and those are missions and things, and that means someone dropped the ball or someone got killed, and that means those unequated equations that need to be harmonious needs to be reworked. Means plan B. But there's a lot of stuff that people understand that something far away in the universe can affect down here, and the purpose of the earth is a battlefield because we have the holiest down here to fight, because this system is in a heart system of the body of God, and therefore the power of God stays no matter what happens, and we simply have to relieve the quantum of something called death particulates. And it's how do you get rid of waste? You burn it, you bury it, you utilize something, but when it becomes hard packed, it becomes something like lead, and that becomes deadly because in the quantum use of materials, the God needs the materials to work extremely well with light stream. And we know that when we take a ray of light and you mathematically combine it with a radical, it destroys the radical, free radical, or the that's why laser should be used more in the fight against cancer, and it isn't, and it needs to be. But when you use light in with matter like iolite or alexandrite or diamond, it puts off a positive chain of equation, and those equations are utilized in a harmonious manner. And my contribution is the spectrum lights and the use of braiding spectrum, because you can create something when you braid this spectrum, UVB with white light or yellow light. In a tertiary manner, it could even be blending between the two to create another light to braid with the primary, and those things become always good, because when you're dealing with light and the study of light, you have God's best interest at hand, because He can say, I don't like that. I don't like it used on that person, but I like it used over here. And that's what is best. Because I look at tech, and I'm not the techiest person, but I'm a brilliant woman. And I have to fight in a field without tech. I have to fight without the transfer of information. I have to fight without someone telling me what to do. I have to create my own missions. And I'm up against agents who are well equipped and well versed, and I say babysat because they can't. Can I get out of the truck yet? Can I get out of the truck yet? It's like, get the fuck out of the truck. Go face me or go face some bitch that you need to face. Just get your job done, get in and out, and go do something. Go get a soda because that's the way I have to do it. So okay, I better go. And I didn't get to use tech, very rarely. Um, so I'm not a techie person, but to me it's like clunky, 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 clunky. It's like my brain laughs at it because it's you can't worship a computer because it is reliant upon a human to program it, and it's relying upon a human to download the information or upload the information into it, and then it's reliant upon you to serve it. So why worship it? Because it's just a downward decline in intelligence. Artificial intelligence is artificial. It's a bath mat is what it is. And it shouldn't be worshipped. It should be blessing you, and it should be glorified for what it is, and that's it. And but too many people just say, oh God, it's the computer smarter. I'm like, no, the computer can't do anything on its own. And you keep making these things, and all I see are sex toys. Androids are not going to replace anything except for fake Julia Roberts in the bedroom. Because I can see it. That's what you're going to do. Because no one can afford an Android, and no one cares about that, right? They do. They say, I don't want that in my house. Because when you make these things and people think, well, the robot's going to take over manufacturing, it never will. Because that means it lends itself to a governing regulator. And guess what? You have stuff like business profession codes and licensing requirements. And an Android can't meet either because they can't take the test. And guess what? That means you have to have a governing regulator, and that means you lose free enterprise. You can't do these things because God says no. And God knows that He works through me, and so does Goddess. And they say we don't like it. And God says, don't let her perish. And God says, there's no way she's going to perish. But God's my Father, and God's my moving force. And He knows that things aren't going to go that way. They're going to go like they've always been. They're going to go back to nature. But guess what? You're going to have more of these. Because they're fun, but they need not get interfered with your life, and they need to bring you joy without absolute, and that means exactly what I said. It needs to bring you joy, but it can't be your absolute joy. With that said, I think I've wasted enough of your time today. So I'm gonna mosey on over there and do my best to destroy the evil in our universe. I have to go. Ciao.